Friday. It's episode 62 of Invisible Walls. I'm Shane Satterfield, and I am basking in the glow of the Pittsburgh Penguins Stanley Cup championship. I know everyone's looking at me like, wait a minute, the Lakers won a championship. I don't care about the Lakers.
I don't care about
What's the
your
Lakers?
stupid American sports.
You're European. Hockey is
Don't
from...
call me European. I'm Welsh, bitch.
there's
British at worst.
There's a difference. Anyway, all hail the Penguins knocking off the mighty Red Wings. Now we can get on with the show.
Take that, Detroit.
To Zetterberg. 2-on-2 the other way. He scores! And yet another power play goal.
All right, and sitting in on the show today to enjoy and share in my glow basking, we have Marcus Beer, the Welsh.
It's Welsh man. Thank you. And you keep your glow off me. Thank you. I've just washed these jeans.
We also have Miguel Lopez on the show today.
What's up, guys?
Brooks, you.
Weird. Howdy.
He has hair.
I am
His hair
growing
is
my
growing
hair
out a little bit. And Justin Spears sitting in today.
I'm here to bask.
The Quiet Storm.
Get off me!
Dana!
All right, so last week I stirred the beehive a little bit when I was talking about Prototype and Infamous. I said I was enjoying Prototype a little more than Infamous.
That's because you are the devil.
I am apparently Satan, or Shaitan. And, I'm not saying Infamous isn't a good game. I'm enjoying Infamous a lot.
Well, it's interesting because what was the score you gave him, Prototype?
I gave Prototype an 8.6.
And I believe Infamous got a 9.0 on the
That's
side.
correct.
That means you should enjoy it. 0.4 points
More.
less.
Because, you know that, Brandon wrote all the reviews.
Yeah, when you have one guy reviewing everything.
I mean, to be fair, it was Bloodworth who reviewed Infamous,
Right.
and he obviously he liked it. What I will say is, I have been playing the PS3 version of Prototype, and first off, it doesn't look as good as Infamous, in my opinion.
I think we all knew that.
And I should bring that copy in because apparently Activision won't send you any because they're too busy counting their $100 bills to actually send out more than one copy of the game.
Yeah, we have not got the PS3 version here yet. So.
But what I will say is that Infamous and Prototype, they have in common the open world. They have in common they're both superhero games. But honestly, that's as far as it goes because the gameplay styles for both games are radically different, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I put in a bunch of hours on Infamous, playing, actually as the good guy mode, and trying to, which I find a little bit more difficult because, you try not to kill people collateral damage-wise. But it's certainly more studied and it's certainly more slower paced, I think, with regards to acquiring the powers and exploring the city and doing some of the missions.
And I think that's exactly why I like Prototype more. It's just more balls to the walls, action, a lot less downtime. I felt like the controls felt more intuitive and more responsive. Some of Infamous's controls feel a little clunky to me. I also felt like Infamous, it was a little more predetermined how you navigated the environment. I felt like you had a lot more free-form ability in Prototype, and just for my personal taste and what I like for games, that's why I enjoy Prototype a little more.
Well, I like playing RPGs a lot, and obviously they've both got RPG elements where you get experience and you get to buy your powers. The thing I liked about Infamous is it doesn't let you go balls out right away, and all of a sudden you've discovered you've got these powers, and they evolve as and unlock as you progress through the game, as opposed to having just buy everything and you get totally overpowered from day one.
Well, that's not the way Prototype
Well,
works.
that's not the. And again, this isn't a.
You get like your flying abilities and like you can speed up your run. You don't get the devastating attacks until you're pretty much at the end of the game. They'll give you like one to use.
You can unlock one of the destructor attacks pretty quickly.
Right. Well, they give you one, so you can learn the mechanic basically.
So you do have a lot more powers to access in Prototype than you do.
Oh yeah,
in
a lot
Infamous.
more.
So yeah, I'm not saying Infamous is a bad game because in my experience, I played a lot of Infamous.
You mean Prototype?
Yes, that one too.
Both of them. They're both
I played
good.
a lot of Infamous,
They're both good.
and then I actually put it down for several hours to play Prototype PS3, and I couldn't get into Prototype, just switching between the mindsets. And that's what I think kind of gave me a negative perspective on Prototype. Once I finished Infamous, and I'm literally at the very end now, I'm going to go back and start Prototype from the beginning again, and I've got a funny feeling I'll enjoy it way more. But right now, I'm actually, my hat is firmly in the Infamous court. even though you don't get as many powers and you have to unlock
So
the
them.
wait,
powers
what
are
is the
kinda
advantage?
boring.
Wait, I have yet to hear what the advantages are of Infamous. Why do you like it better?
Well, I think it also taps in the fact that I'm a comic book geek, and the whole thing is that you acquire these new powers and you have to learn to control them. And I'm also, like I said, playing as the good guy. Where
Aren't they
I'm
kind of boring powers though, like lightning grenade and
Yeah,
lightning
it's
rocket?
like there's a
and
little lightning
it's
ball.
like,
that
You know what?
shoot.
That's not necessarily
the
true.
guy's
yet.
wrist never stops going.
You can
It's
actually
like a little spider monkey.
you've got the lightning
Fleeing
grenades,
poo.
you've got shockwaves, you've got the lightning bolts, and as you upgrade them, they come with some seriously nice upgrades. So the grenade, for example, you lob it on level 1, and it does takes a couple of guys out, lower level guys. Level 3 on that one, when you take people out, the enemies then automatically get restrained by lightning bolts, so you actually get bonus points for capturing them. Then there's some other powers that involve, ricocheting off various cars. You can actually hit a car, and the bolt will ricochet off and take people out. You get a electric shield, which is one of the last powers to be unlocked. And once you've upgraded that, when you get hit by bullets, it replenishes your energy. So there's actually some really cool little nuances that show, again, from the comic book nerd, for me, that whole evolution of your powers, and
I still think as a
They do that
character,
in
he's a
Prototype.
little more boring than like most superheroes, though. I mean, I don't think.
You got to also
to me,
realize-
it didn't have so much pull.
You know,
I
from,
guess.
from watching.
Not that.
both
I mean,
those-
Prototype is a little off-putting because it's like this guy's got like freaking umbilical cords flying everywhere. It's a little gross. And maybe
yeah,
not.
it's definitely
If
gross.
I were that guy, I would be like,
This is
I'm not totally happy with my powers. This is a little bit nasty.
You're not going to pull many
Prototype
tricks
is
with those powers.
well. Prototype's definitely balls to the wall. I mean, it is balls to the wall in the language, in it's the graphicness of ripping people apart. I mean, I'm hearing about some of the stories later on where they talk about the Vietnam veterans and some of the inferences there a little later in the game. That's kind of like, wow, okay. So it's definitely more aggressive, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying I'm enjoying Infamous more, and maybe in a couple of weeks I'll start enjoying Prototype more.
Yeah, I think they're both great games. I think it really does come down to your taste. I don't agree with all the arguments you just made for why you think one game is better than the other, because I think
I'm just saying why I'm
Prototype
enjoying
honestly
it.
probably has 5 times the abilities that Infamous does. But again, I think at the core base of the way both games are played, it's going to resonate with you depending on what kind of games you enjoy. If you're a more laid-back player who enjoys RPGs and that kind of game,
That appeals to
I
me.
definitely think you're going to like Infamous. If you're more of an action player who likes first-person shooters, likes to see go boom, likes a lot of visceral action in their games, I think you're going to like Prototype better.
Yeah.
And I'm Gary Thorne. Always great to have you join us with some more great hockey action in Detroit, one of the hotbeds of hockey forever. And Michigan proud of the games that. Oh, what a shot! Scores! And that will give them the early lead.
All right, next up, in honor of the Penguins Stanley Cup Championship victory,
Dude, it's all about the real sport, and it's the British Lions versus South Africa on June 20th in South Africa. Rugby, real sport, played by men,
Rugby.
no pads and. Dude, I tell you what, you come watch a rugby match with me. We get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Match starts at 6. We'll be hammered by 6:30. It's a great way to start your Saturday.
You got to settle it this way, man. Whose favorite team has the fewest teeth?
the Penguins. Definitely.
But they're named after penguins.
Hey, you don't have to fly to be good at hockey.
Was the fuzzy bunnies taken?
Anyway, that's our segue into a section of our show where we're going to talk about sports video games. So first we're going to talk about Fight Night Round 4, about to come out. I think we've all had our chances to play the game at least a little bit. There's a demo out there. I've only played the demo, so I'm going to keep my loud mouth out of this conversation. But a lot of you guys have actually spent a lot of quality time with it. What are your impressions of the game? Because to me, it feels like boxing games can only go so far. Either they can only go so far, or there needs to be this huge technological leap. Do you guys feel like Fight Night Round 4 has done this?
They do some impressive. I mean, I think the technology is really lending itself to making a more realistic in a lot of ways boxing simulation. The big thing that they were, when I saw it at events, is like the people can get really close to each other. You don't have anything clipping through. They don't have to have an artificial range where the fight takes place. You can get really close in and far away, and everything there's collision for everything. So the guys aren't clipping through each other. They're kind of like brushing. If
Well,
a
you're right.
punch like
In
goes
past
over the
boxing
shoulder,
games-
it'll just go right past the guy. I mean, it still kind of connects, but kind of slides over.
Yeah,
but I mean,
past
it doesn't
boxing
put
games,
you in
you're
that.
right. If you
yeah.
got too close, you couldn't really land any punches. They just kind of went through the guy or just wouldn't fire off at all.
So it doesn't kind of lock you in at that range. You really, there's a lot of room for maneuvering, and if you want to, if you're a guy with stubby arms, you want to get, you get in like Mike Tyson and do the powerful hits. If you have longer arms, you want to stay outside. So that, as far as I can tell, is pretty new, and it really does, you feel it when you're playing that you need to, constantly monitor your range and try to figure out what you want to do, what range you want to be, and then kind of stick there and build around that.
Attributes like that, though, like the amount of reach that your fighter has, how does the game determine that? Like, do you pick that when you're designing
It's mostly
your dude?
based on height, but you can also set your reach. But I mean,
I
even
think
if
my
you have
reach
a
is like 9 feet long.
Right.
you can, but then you can have like a really super long reach, almost freakishly long. But if someone gets in on you, you will not be able to connect.
Right.
Your hands will go right past them, and they'll be hammering you in the jaw.
It's true.
So I mean, it's kind of cool. A lot of people in the office who played the last Fight Night say it doesn't feel as powerful when hits are connecting. And
But
I
the
think
last fight night felt clunky to me. It felt like there was always some kind of a delay between and the punches never seemed as sharp or as crisp as real boxing. Actually, how is that in the new one? Do you feel like you're really landing blows on these guys?
a lot of the thing is, when you first start playing, there's a real tendency to kind of spam punches, and it's all with the stick this time. You have a signature punch on the control pad, but it's basically total punch control. You use the analog stick. And you can kind of spam punches a lot. And if you have two people just totally swinging at each other, you're not going to get a lot of clean hits, and you're not going to get a lot of connections.
And
it'll
look
kind of
like
feel a
boxing
little
when you
weak,
do
and it
that.
doesn't look like boxing. But if the other person, say, knows what they're doing, like if you run down your stamina bar, you take more damage each hit. And if someone gets one good clean hit in you, like if you're able to dodge something and then do a counter hit, and if you hit the guy in the chin, you will almost always be stunned and messed up. And then the other person can really go on the offensive. So it really comes down to like whoever can land that powerful hit and stun your opponent, and then you can really start doing damage. Otherwise, it's a really kind of protracted, drawn out. Stamina does not go down fast. So
What about the the sort of feedback you get when you land a punch? I've noticed that unless you're pretty good at the game, meaning you're able to pull off counter hits, it kind of feels a little loose. When
a
you
lot
do,
of the hits, yeah. I mean, if you're not at ideal range, like for a jab, if you're a little too close or a little too far, you don't feel like you're doing a lot of damage. So if you're just if you're just throwing punches out there, then yeah, it kind of feels a little weak. Each punch is like kind of lacking.
Doesn't
So
the
you
game
really
do something though? Like when you actually land a counter?
Yeah,
doesn't
if there are visual effects for if you can either kind of parry a punch by throwing up your guard at the right moment, or ducking your head out of the way, there's kind of a zoom effect, and then your next hit, if you connect with it, will be a counter hit, and it does increase damage. You can see the sweat fly off the guy,
like kapow,
and that feels good. So you really just want to feel it out and then try to connect with those powerful hits.
I think one thing that I've noticed even just watching other people play is that there's a lot more detail in it as far as the glancing blows. Like if you miss your punch a little bit, you'll see the glove sort of hop over their head but still make contact with it. You can see the glove compact against their head, and literally as soon as it pops up the top of their head, the glove pops back out like a real glove does. Stuff like that I think is added a lot more detail, but
yeah, it's cool. It can make it look sloppy if the players. I mean, when I saw the developers playing, it looked great. And when I first started playing with someone else who hadn't really played, it pretty much just like two guys just like like flailing away. So I guess you kind of have to get a feel for it.
Well, you knew his opponent could crack, and now he knows too. He is down.
And right now, he's actually thinking about what he's going to do. Am I going to get up?
all right, now we're going to move on to part 2 of our sports discussion. This really revolves around the Wii Motion Plus. EA sort of slid 2 games out under the radar during E3. We're just now really getting a chance to play these games. One is Tiger Woods PGA Tour for the Wii, and the other is Grand Slam Tennis for the Wii. First, we're going to have Brooks talk about Tiger a little bit. Are you a golfer, a real golfer?
Real-life golfer. I've been playing since I was about 5 years old.
Now, how do you feel like the Motion Plus translates into your real swing? Do you think it's really accurate?
Yeah, what's crazy about the Motion Plus with Tiger Woods is if you don't follow through with the swing, you will see your golfer give this little half-ass finishing to his swing. So if you don't go up and over your shoulder, it registers that, and it doesn't look right. So
now, what about your hand? Because really the hardest thing about golf is your grip and keeping your grip solid all the way through your swing. If you can't do that, that's where you get the slices and the hooks. If you're opening up the club head when you make contact, or if you're closing it off, that's where you get your slice and hook. Now, how does it replicate that?
Well, you can play sitting down in a chair because I've tried it.
You can or can't?
You can. And you could play one-handed if you get a feel for the game. But yeah, you're right. If you do twist your arms out or in, it replicates that in the game, and you can see actual draw or actual fade.
Now, it's not crazy
shot.
sensitive, right? Because I have a natural slice. So I don't want to play this game and start hitting slices every time. I want it to give me some
you
chance.
could. Yeah, I mean, you meld the real life sport with the video game, and you kind of can figure it out on your own with how you swing the Wiimote. And if you have a natural hook or a natural slice, you could probably compensate for that. But
I can't compensate for it on the course, the real course, that is.
Well, you could always go into the club tuner within the game itself, and you could adjust your swing and provide like natural attributes to that so that you don't hook or slice.
My other question is the putting. In Wii Sports Golf, the putting was atrocious. It was so hard to use the Wiimote to get the right amount of speed.
Well, here the game defaults to the classic putting scheme.
Oh.
And so you just get...
It's like a 3-button click.
No, it's not even a 3-button click. You just get a graph on the side that indicates how much power you're realistically applying to the club. And you just deduce, like, if you fill the power gauge all the way up, it's 100% swing. And it's good enough to tell you, like, how far you need to go, like 50%, 60%. And you just pull it back that much power and just swing through.
Now, so wait, it does use the Motion Plus, but you're setting the power meter beforehand?
Yeah, the putting's a little bit different than the full swing, because the full swing, you're pulling it all the way back and ripping through it. But with the putter, because given, like, you know, how precise you need to be on the greens, you basically figure out how far you are to the cup, and then based on the distance, you apply that to the power of the putter, which you're just pulling back a little bit and pushing forward.
So as you pull the putter back using Wii Motion Plus, the meter fills up on the screen?
The meter will fill up. But
Gotcha.
if you want to go for the harder route, there's a different putting scheme, which is a true ratio, and you have to be really careful with your power at that point.
Is it impossible to putt that way?
It's much more difficult, I found, which is why they default to the classic putting scheme. So you have that instant, power gauge. Otherwise, you'd kind of be cursing like a sailor.
Now, some people are saying this is the best golf game ever.
I believe it.
You agree with that?
I do agree with that, because I've been playing Tiger Woods for a long time, and as much as I do appreciate and love the just a standard controller, there's something that needs to be said about using the Wii Motion Plus and implementing that into the game. It's pretty freaking realistic. It's cool. Yeah,
now I've been playing Grand Slam tennis for the Wii over the last week. I got it like during E3, but didn't have much time to play. The past 4 or 5 days, I've had a lot of chance to really dive into it, and it is utterly amazing. It's awesome. I first started playing, I was totally getting my ass kicked, bumped it down to easy, still getting my ass kicked. I just couldn't do anything right.
Are you using the advanced control scheme that uses the nunchuck? Or
Nope, I'm using the Wii Remote by itself. And so I was like, all right, well, these computer players are kicking my ass. Maybe I'll go online and see if people suck as bad as I do. And they did. They were just as bad as me, which made for some really awesome tennis games. And then I found that once I started winning online, I went back and played the single player, and I just destroyed it.
What was the trick? Just more.
I think it's learning how to play the game. The thing about it is that there's a trick to it. You can't just sort of hold the Wii Remote like a real tennis racket, and whenever you feel like swinging at a ball, lift it up and swing it. Every time after you swing, either forehand or backhand, you really need to bring that Wii Remote back to the center of your body, like
because it moves in real time. If you pull the racket to the forehand side, your character on screen will.
Well, the problem is if you don't bring it to the center of your body like real tennis players do, and you have it like off to the right, when you go for your backswing to make your swing, it thinks you're swinging. So your character will swing as soon as you go to pull it back. If you center it, it basically recalibrates the Motion Plus. And then when you pull it back, you'll see your player on screen pull back as well. And then when you follow through, the player on screen follows through. And I'm to the point now where I can literally place my shots anywhere. It's ridiculous. Once I got it down, I jumped online. I think my record is like 9-2.
And it's pretty cool because if you pick it up, you get top spin.
And
there's slice.
Well, there are buttons for that too. Like if you hold the A, it makes like the lob a lot easier. And then if you mix that with doing a lob motion, you get crazy spin on it. But as far as exactly what shot you're going to do, that's determined with the button.
Now, did you try it without the Motion Plus? Because I tried Tiger without the Motion Plus, and it was like, what the hell is this? You couldn't go back. But
well, I did try it without the Motion Plus, and basically what it does is it selects where the ball is going to go based upon your timing only, and not actually how you swing the quote-unquote racket.
So the Motion Plus not only adds that more realistic level of gameplay, but also much more realistic gameplay.
Also, you get a lot more speed if you use Motion Plus and you really swing it. In fact, my right shoulder, my right arm are like dead tired. It's kind of like playing wiffle ball. I don't know if you guys ever played wiffle ball versus baseball, but when I was a kid, I could throw a baseball all day. My arm wouldn't get tired. But when you go to throw the wiffle ball and there's no resistance there, it kills your arm, and that's exactly what this game does. It's like you're just whipping your arm over and over without anything of weight in your arm. So now I can go online and I literally could beat anyone with my ranking. I finally got to where I played the 62nd ranked person and he destroyed me. But he used his own created character that he had built up. So now I've gone back. I'm playing a single player. I'm trying to build up my created guy so I can go back online and really take on these guys who are ranked a lot higher than me. But I absolutely love it. Completely addicted to it. It's so intense. It feels like you're playing a real tennis match. There's a physical element to it where eventually your arm starts to get tired and you aren't swinging as hard anymore. I can't say enough about it. It's probably my favorite tennis game I've ever played, and it destroys Wii Sports Tennis. It's not even close.
Wow.
But do you think you're going to go to the advanced controls and you manipulate your court position with the...
There's no reason to use the nunchuck.
No?
Like, honestly, especially if you're using your creative player and you start building up his speed rating,
Yeah.
it's all about it at that point figuring out what the limitations are of your character. So, say there's someone hits a cross-court shot and your guy's streaking over to try to get it. It's all about knowing that exact moment when you swing that will make him jump and dive for the ball and hit it. It's kind of hard to explain
How do you
unless you
approach
play.
the net, though?
You just hit up on the D-pad and he'll rush the net. So it's like the skill, instead of like trying to get your player to the ball, the skill becomes timing and knowing when to dive based upon where the computer has positioned that player. It's hard to explain unless you play it, but it works
No, I
really
can see that
freaking
because
well.
the nunchuck
Gotcha.
cord could get in the way, and it's better.
Right.
to
I
have
mean,
that
I wouldn't
freedom.
want to play that game with the nunchuck. You
Oh,
can't
yeah,
really
yeah.
swing. The cord's going to slap you in the face. And I've played against people who are blatantly or trying to control their guys, and they just get destroyed. You wouldn't have any chance online playing with the nunchuck trying to control
There's a
your
pro
guy.
tip right there.
So yeah, pro tip: totally play with the Wii remote without the nunchuck.
So this was the gizmo that's supposed to feed energy to the destructor form?
That's right, Peter.
Well, Dr. Venkman.
Well, I had to get one right eventually, didn't I? I mean, just math.
All right, now we're going to talk about something that makes us feel good, and that's busting.
Busting ass.
No crossing the streams.
After eating some Taco Bell, busting makes you feel real good.
So Miguel's going to talk about Ghostbusters. He's been playing it for the last week or so. Actually, you started the game, and your save was mysteriously erased.
Yeah.
And had to actually play it twice.
I did. I had to start from roughly the 25% mark.
Yeah.
Kick it off over. So.
And you still enjoyed the game, so that's a pretty good sign, right?
Yeah, it's a cool game. It's pretty bare bones. Just think of it more like a theme park ride or a roller coaster. Just straight linear. It hits all the big moments that you would expect a Ghostbusters game to hit. Mm-hmm. It looks super authentic. You could tell by looking at how detailed the proton packs are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, you just cruise around within their headquarters and
right,
stuff from the film posted on the walls. And
yeah, the firehouse is really cool. As you collect these artifacts throughout the game, you'll see them appear, in little nooks and crannies in the firehouse, and
really
some of them you can even
environments.
interact with, which is pretty funny.
Now, is the game full of fan service like that? Is there all kinds of cool little nods to the franchise?
Yeah, I mean, just the way, just the look and feel of it. Even the story isn't that good, I don't think, but it feels right. Obviously, since it's all the actors from the movies who are voicing themselves, they all sound right.
And the humor's there. They're still fun.
The humors are, all the banter, when they start dropping all that paranormal mumbo jumbo, it sounds like, you're kind of like, all right, this could be something that they pulled out of a script.
Bill Murray is Bill
Well,
Murray.
was it Dan Aykroyd and Hal Ramis? They actually worked on the actual script with the
well,
team.
that's apparently BS. If you read, there's a story in the New York Times where the author interviewed Dan Aykroyd, and apparently what Aykroyd and Ramis they just had script approval or something like that. They were just able to sort of go through it. But yeah, it's actually the team, the writers and the developer were the ones that actually came up with the story.
Now, my concern is that this game is purely a one-trick pony. You get your proton pack, you go out, you bust Ghost, done deal. Is there any depth to this game at all?
That's pretty much it, man. I mean, you're gonna play through it, and it's gonna be fun. And there are some weak moments where kind of the game not falls apart, but it starts to very evidently do things that kind of prolong the experience. There's these toward the end especially, there's a few really huge fights where there's
those monster holes.
Yeah, stuff like that. They start drawing waves of ghosts after you, which that doesn't feel like the movies. That
right.
Sounds like horde mode in Gears of War or some. But Yeah, I mean, there's online stuff, but you're not going to want to play that very long.
Don't you do a little bit of like PKE meter detective type stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean that.
But that's kind of just leading you along there, really.
Right. It's like propelling.
That's a little bit of variety.
It's always propelling you to an experience.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's like by having one of the guys chatting with you as you're running through a hall for 5 minutes, which that happens a lot. You know, like it's remarkable how these moments that will be really slow in other games. In this one, you kind of don't notice it because there's a character talking
kind of
at you the
banter
whole
going
time.
on.
Yeah.
Now, what about physics? When they first showed this game to me, probably 3 years ago now, which is hard to believe, they had this crazy physics demo where they had this room full of water with all these books floating in the water. And they sort of showed how they could stack books on top of books, and eventually when you had enough, they'd sink, and then the ones on the bottom would sort of flip up and sort of jump up out of the water. Did they really use that in any of the gameplay?
It's there, and it does contribute an effect. Like, you know, you do feel that your proton pack is like this crazy-ass weapon because, stuff catches fire when it hits it. You know, you're shooting gravestones and they explode and all that. But it's not used to much effect in the game. You get this weapon, it's the slime tether, which, you essentially use as a grappling hook to pull stuff to you.
Right.
And that's used in a couple of puzzle sequences, but it doesn't ever really feel like it's a part of the game, to be honest.
So who do you recommend this game for, Miguel? Just for Ghostbusters fans, or do you think just a typical player should at least rent it?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. Like everything feels super hard and solid. Like when you're wrangling a ghost, you definitely feel resistance. And there's like there's moves in there that you could unlock with. You get cash whenever you catch a ghost. There's one move called the slam dunk, which depending on how well you can wrangle a ghost, you can like instantly trap it. So that's kind of cool, but. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, man, people who are super into the movie, they're going to want to play it. Other people,
Here's maybe the better question. Someone who isn't into the Ghostbusters franchise, should they buy Ghostbusters, or should they pick up Luigi's Mansion for like $5?
What is it with Luigi's Mansion? Luigi's Mansion must have inspired so many games recently.
Just now.
That's true. Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't think people would want to pay, drop full price for this, but it's definitely worth a rental. It's fun. It's well made,
Just pick up the phone and call the professionals.
Call the Ghostbusters. We're ready to believe you.
Franchises available soon. Call for details.
All right, NPD numbers came out. Pretty shocking, in all honesty. I think there's a lot of surprising stuff on the charts this month, in particular for May, I should say. Most surprising, I think, at this point, the Wii's in a bit of a free fall, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a bit of a free fall. I mean, the biggest surprise for me is that the number one game really surprised me on how well it sold.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we all have to agree with that.
Yeah, UFC Undisputed. I mean, the fact that both versions were in the top 4 and they sold over 1 million units
in a month.
And then you look at the other sort of like big sporty type release of the month, which was Punch-Out. And it sold less than a fifth of the numbers of UFC.
We also have to remember Punch-Out was only out for 12 days in May. Still, I think Nintendo's got to be pretty unhappy with that number. 157,000 units sold in 12 days. Doesn't show a lot of people really having it on their radar as like a pre-order type game. I think it'll also be one of those games that has legs, though, like pretty much all Nintendo's games. As we can see by Wii Fit, still at number 2.
Mario Kart with Wheel is still there as well.
Yeah,
it'll be around. It'll be around for the next 6 to 8 months, and
at
probably
least
Christmas.
I didn't rush out and get Punch-Out simply because I thought the character roster was too limited. I know there's a very deep game there, but that's one of the reasons why I didn't run out and get it.
I wouldn't exactly call it deep, but there's a very fun game there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, with all the years they've had, they should have given us 5 new characters and had the whole roster of past fighters in there.
We had 1 new character and making up 13 total with the secret boss.
And then there, some of the characters that they did include were a little eh. So I had to totally agree with that, and I think we mentioned that in our review as well. But still surprised at how it sold.
Yeah, I am too. I thought it would hit at least 5.
We're still looking at 6 Nintendo products in the top 10 as usual, with Pokemon Platinum for the DS.
Well, it looks like Pokemon's cooled off a little bit.
Thank God.
Yeah. I mean, granted, what did they sell the first month? Almost 1 million or something like that.
It's insane, but then when you figure how many DSs are out there,
yeah, it's really not that good for Pokemon. In fact, these numbers in general are all just kind of.
Well, May was not exactly a banner month for hot new releases. I think there were only a couple that really came out. I mean, Infamous made the top 5. I'm pleased to see that, 175,000, and that was only out for the last few days of May. It came out. I think that's only like 4 or 5 days sales.
Yeah, it looks like Infamous is going to do pretty well, which is awesome.
Yeah, so that's great. I mean, actually the PS3 had 2 titles again. UFC sold really well on the PS3 as well, so that THQ will be happy with that.
Killzone completely out of the top 10.
Yeah. Wolverine is the only other 360 title in the barely making, to be honest with you, the top 10.
That came out May 1st.
And that had a full month and only 127.
That's got to be a huge disappointment for Activision.
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic that it's the best Wolverine movie game that they've done.
The game was way better than the movie.
It was, but I think unfortunately the bad press around the movie really sort of like hampered the game. And it's I played the game.
It didn't stop Fantastic Four from selling though. Because that movie was panned by critics and the game sold like crazy.
I think
Wolverine loses to Fantastic Four. That's humiliating.
I think the biggest difference is that the people who bought Fantastic Four were probably so friggin' burnt they'd probably never want to pick up another superhero game as long as they live.
That
or
could
just
be
like Jessica Alba,
Maybe that's what happened. They buy it and they're like, Wolverine, not after Fantastic Four.
Well, again, look what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Transformers is coming out, so that'll have a couple of weeks. Let's see how that sells. I mean, I'm not holding on much hope for a great Transformers game, to be honest with you.
Well, I know Wolverine was killing the demos. I mean, everybody was downloading the demo.
Yeah.
Maybe that was enough for them to.
I think maybe people are waiting for a price drop on it. Again, May is a quiet month. I mean, we had E3 on the horizon. People waiting to see what announcements were being made.
Well, hardware sales look pretty dismal.
The PlayStation 3, man, oh my gosh.
You know what? The PlayStation 3 is now Sony's most popular console because it wasn't outsold by the PSP this month. So, it's not bad, and it's not. Look at the figures. That's one way to spin it. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice to Sony.
PR, apparently.
Look, I could do a much better job. But their figures are holding steady at about.
Well, the PS2 bump only lasted the 1 month after the price drop. It went right back to where it was before.
But they're still selling 130,000 a month, so that, they're bobbling along. They're 45,000 behind the 360, and again, the Wii, it dropped under 300,000.
Yeah.
But then you look at the DS, and it was.
Well, funny thing, MPD comes out today. 2 hours later, you start hearing rumors about a Wii price drop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what's swirling around the internet right now, is the Wii dropping price in the not too distant future.
Oh, God bless the interwebs.
Well, I mean, you got to realize the Wii sales have been cut in half in about 4 months' time or less. I mean, it was hitting 600,000, a million about 3 or 4 months ago.
Well, how many people can actually own a Wii? I mean, how many people are interested enough in games, whether they be casual or hardcore? All the hardcore gamers, they bought the Wii when it first came out, or as soon as they could get one in their sweaty little paws. And then you look at the people who have bought the Wii since for the casual games like Wii Fit, which still continues to sell, which really annoys me. But that market has to be tapped out, so Nintendo has to find some sort of market.
How many PS2s are out there? I mean, the better question is, who doesn't have a PS2 at this point, or a PS3 that'll play PS2 games?
Well, plenty of people bought like a second PS2 though, because those things died.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, I had three of them.
I had 3. I mean, they're more than just us in this room that if burned out a PS2 and like.
Still though, we're talking about like 200 million consoles out there. That's insane, and still selling 117,000 a month for the PS2. That's crazy. And I mean, I guess if you look at it honestly, the Wii still, if you add up the PS3 and the 360 together, the Wii still, does it still outsell it? Almost. It's still, it's below actually.
Yeah, it's below. But it's interesting that the PlayStation 2 continues to sell month in, month out. But when was the last time we had a PS2 game in the top 10?
Yeah.
And
I don't know what they're buying. I mean,
I think
piracy? Is that what it is?
It's the used market. It's they're going into GameStop, they're going into EB, wherever they are in the world, and people you can pick up for $100. Probably 5 or 6.
2 games from EB Games.
No, you can probably buy 5 or 6 really good PlayStation games.
I'm just joking.
They're PS2 games.
Their used game prices are ridiculous for what they pay for.
If you have any younger siblings,
we'll buy it for 50 cents and we'll sell it for $40. I need to open up my own used game store, apparently.
Clean for babies. Gamers play all night.
All right. We've come to the end of our journey, the end of episode 62. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please jump on Facebook and join our group. Again, I feel like I have to say this every few months, but I do not accept friend invites from people I don't know. I feel bad because I get tons of requests and I have to deny them all, but my list is purely for people I know. Maybe I should just create like a generic one or something people can join.
You should.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Maybe I'll do that. But anyway, definitely join our group. We're over 2,000 strong at this point, which I think is awesome. Always good to see your faces on there. And remember that the Pittsburgh Penguins are now the Stanley Cup champions of the world.
We should also thank everybody who actually pushed Invisible Wall 60 over the 100,000 mark.
That's true. Our dream was to, well, I don't know if it was a dream, but one of our
That's
short-term goals was to get over 100,000 in one episode, and we did that with episode 60. So thank you very, very much, guys, for watching and listening.
Boom.
Invisible Walls, boom.